Hello everyone, Max here. So even though we are not going to be doing as much in water training as we usually do in the next coming weeks, we still can be enhancing our mental skills training. So that is why I'm here. I'm going to do a couple little videos on some skills that we can do while we're at home and training, so that when we get back in the water, we're just that much better and taking steps forwards while we can. Okay, so today we're going to do a little session on imagery, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have done this before. I've had sessions in the past, but we're going to do a little bit of a refresher and then apply it into more of an artistic swimming context. Okay, so imagery is a really beneficial skill that you guys probably do all the time without even knowing it, but it helps increase our motivation, increase our concentration, and ultimately it can benefit our performance because it's a really good learning tool. Okay, so when you guys are using it, it's a really good way to connect our mind and body, which is a really big part of synchro. So connecting what we hear and our corrections and how we translate that into our bodily movements and changes to fix those corrections. Okay, so when you guys are doing your imagery or visualization, it's really important to create the similar environment of what you are doing. So for you guys, that's in a pool. Okay, so when you close your eyes and envision what you're doing, it's really important to enhance all 5 of your senses. Okay, so what you're seeing. Are you seeing your teammates? Are you seeing your hands? Are you seeing just the water? Are you seeing the wall? Are you seeing your coaches? See that in your mind and then move on to the next one. Okay, what are you smelling? Probably nothing because you're wearing your nose clip, but that's also something to be aware of. If you smell something, maybe not great. Okay, so wearing your nose clip, no sense of smell. Okay, what are you feeling? Okay, so that's just like touch on to your skin. So for you guys, that's most likely the water. Especially if you're underwater, you're going to feel the water through your skull. So feel the pressure of the water as you're trying to do your outsculls or your insculls. Feel the pressure of your legs as you're going through it. If they're out of the water, feel the coldness of the air against your legs as you're going through certain movements or your arms. Okay? And then another really important one is, what are you feeling? I know I just said that, but it's like a different kind of feeling. It's kinesthetic. Okay? So what is your body doing throughout this entire thing in the environment? Okay, so how is your body adjusting to what you're doing? How is your body changing from going underwater to above water? Okay, so it's really important that you guys set that scene so that's the most realistic into what you're doing, into the context of the imagery. Okay, now when you guys are doing your imagery, it's also really important to think about 3 things: controllability, vividness, and positivity. These 3 are crucial into the effectiveness of your imagery. So controllability, making sure when you're visualizing, it's on tempo, whether that's to the music or to your own individual counts, making sure you yourself have control of the image that you're seeing. Vividness, is it as clear as possible? Are you fully seeing everything you need to, either above and below the water? Okay, and then positivity. So that is seeing the ultimate figure or element or routine. That is seeing a perfect 10, perfectly dry, perfectly out of the water. You want to be seeing that because that is the goal of what you want to achieve when you're in the water. If any 3 of those things start to fade away, or you start to get other thoughts in your mind about other things that impact either the control, the vividness, or the positivity of your imagery, I want you to think about 3 R's now. Refresh. I want you to click the refresh button on this imagery. I want you to stop, and I want you to reset your mind. Okay? Rethink. That is rethinking about all the corrections that you need and the things that you need to focus on in order to see that perfectly vivid, controlled, and positive figure or element or thing that you're thinking of. And then restart. Okay? So it takes time to kind of work through that and always see that positive thing, but it is really important that you guys don't just get back into it. Okay? So take some time, take a deep breath, and then reset and restart. Okay? When you guys are doing your imagery, there's 2 types that people often use. So there's the internal, so that's from your own view, from your own eyes, watching yourself do it. So it's like your own body. And then there's the external. So that's from the outsider view, so as if you're watching on TV or someone else is watching you. Okay? Both are great. It's kind of whatever you feel is most beneficial to you. But it's really important that regardless of which one you're doing, you're applying that mind to body connection. So either you're thinking about, okay, I'm visually seeing my arms move to the side or move forward depending on the position I'm in, or I'm feeling my bum engage a little bit more going through positions. Or if you're from the external view, when you're watching it, you're thinking about, okay, when my arm goes up, I'm using these muscles, or when I'm hitting those positions, my bum is engaging this way. Okay, so really just applying that mind-body connection regardless of what type of imagery you're using. I also suggest that you guys try both, unless you know which one works best for you. Try them both out, see which one you like better, and then go from there with that one that you like. There's not a right or wrong answer to this, so just choose whatever one you feel and then go from there. Now, going a bit more into the imagery, it really shouldn't take you too long. Each one should take you about 2 to 5 minutes. So it's not a huge time commitment, and it can kind of be correlated into your daily language that you're doing. The way that I suggest doing it is you can do it for both figures and routines, so everyone can be doing this imagery every single day. But I suggest, if you're going to start with routine, doing it once without any music, okay? So going through the motions of your routine, going through a Landrel run through, and thinking about all the corrections and all the things that you can be fixing throughout that run through. Okay, so keeping your eyes closed, visualizing it, setting that scene, and then starting your run through. Okay, as you go through figures and strokes and highlights and partner things, you guys can be thinking about the correction that you need to make, whether that's movement. What do you do with your movement? You whip your legs together. Okay, so feel your legs actually engaging. And then going through figures, engaging your bum, keeping your body and your shoulders down, okay? So always just going through it and thinking about having a purpose of your corrections as you go through each section of the routine. Then, once you go through it once without the music, I suggest doing a little bit of self-reflection and looking back at what went really well in that run through, like good corrections that you had and good things that you felt your body doing, versus some areas that are like, okay, like maybe I didn't think about using my bum as much during this section. And then going back and maybe going through those sections one more time, or just thinking about them a little bit more when you go through it again. If you're feeling up to it and you feel like that was a really good, positive, controlled, and vivid imagery, you can for sure do another Landrel with your music. And then if that's a little bit too much, you just start with just doing it with the counts and in your own mind a couple times, and then you can slowly start incorporating that with the music. But it's really, really important that if you feel a little bit overwhelmed and you're not seeing that controlled, vivid, or positive image, you stop. You do 3 R's, refresh, rethink, restart, and you go again and you bring it down a level, okay? There's no harm in just doing all of your Landrels without music for imagery, but you want to make sure that you're seeing that beautiful image every single time, okay? And then it's also really, really important that in these routine sections and in figures or elements that you're breaking them down into little parts. So maybe you do your Landrel or your imagery Landrel, and then you look at the parts that could use a little work and review those quickly before you do another full Landrel. You can either start with those little parts, but you might not know them right off the bat. So taking time to break down your routine from the bigger picture into the little things and then applying it back. Okay, so it's really important to take those small steps so that we see the progression of those skills and transfer them into those longer sections. Now, you can also obviously do these for elements and for figures as well. So if you're in junior, senior, once you guys do a tech team imagery run through, I suggest breaking it down into each little section, breaking it down to each little element, and creating focuses for each one. So for the bend knee element, after you do your first body boost, getting into that proper set position. What does that look like? What does your body have to do? Where does your bum go? Where does your arms go? And then how do you initiate that roll with your body, okay? What is your body doing on the end of the thrust? What is it doing on the bent knee? And how do you initiate that spin? So really, really taking the time to break it down into those little compartments that we do in practice, but visualizing it, and seeing how your body changes and feeling it as well, okay? And then you can kind of add that all together and then do another swim through. But I suggest it's really, really important to break it down because that's how we see more of the long-term fixes. And then those of you in 13 to 15 doing figures, same idea. Okay, so you guys can really break it down as well. It's super important for you guys to like taking it transition by transition so that you guys can see the corrections translating over into all of your elements or all of your figures. Okay, so maybe you do your figure once and then you reflect, you're like, okay, so like my lift wasn't as good that time. Then you break it down and you think, okay, what do I have to do in order to make this lift the best lift I've ever done in my entire life? How do I engage my legs? Where do my arms need to be? Where does my body need to be? Okay, and you know what? For all of these elements and all of these imagery run-throughs, land drills, I suggest standing up, okay? Because if sitting down, it's kind of hard to engage your bum in that accurate position or feel your arms going to that longer position as well. Okay, so if you're standing up, you can really feel your bum engage. You can feel your thighs engaging on certain areas that you need to. Okay, but you can sit down as well if you'd rather, but just make sure that you're constantly thinking about, okay, what do I need to do and how do I physically do that? Because when you guys get back in the water, if you're doing this consistently, that's going to just become a natural thing that starts to occur when you guys are back in the pool doing these elements, doing these run-throughs, doing these figures. Okay, so when you guys are doing this as well, just one small thing, make sure that you guys are giving yourselves the corrections on how you fix them. Okay, so don't acknowledge what you're doing, just focus, well, acknowledge it, but focus on fixing that on how you do that correction. Okay, so how do we get our line to be better? That is engaging our bum, pushing our thighs back, pushing back on our heels. Give yourself those corrections so that you're focusing on the solutions to the corrections, not just what's going on. Okay, so if I had some take-home messages, it is create that environment for yourself using all of your senses. Okay, to create it the most realistic as possible makes it easier for yourself and for your body to fix all those corrections because it's the most realistic. That the positive controlled and vivid image that you're seeing is crucial to your improvement. So if you start by doing only small sections day by day, that's fine, as long as you're seeing a super controlled, vivid, and positive image. That is the goal, okay? And then finally, finding your way of doing your visualization, okay? So either that's internal or external, whatever works best for you. Finding that and sticking to it and just slowly starting to develop on those skills by breaking them down and then adding on to them, breaking them down and adding on to them, okay? We don't need you to be doing run-throughs every single day, all day, right? We want you to slowly start developing these skills so that by the time you guys get back in the water, hopefully you're doing run-throughs, but if not, you still have the rest of the year to keep doing this, okay? So just take it day by day and just keep focusing on building on those skills. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you guys ever have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or shoot me a text, whatever. Okay? Peace out.